Hello everyone, my name is Emily the Writer and today I'm going to be reviewing for you Winter Ridge, a new favourite of mine and a crime thriller unlike any other I have seen. It was released in 2018 last year and was directed by Dom Lenoir, and as you have guessed it, I absolutely loved it. I was so pleasantly surprised and very impressed with this film because not only does it have a great narrative, it has grossing themes and gorgeous shots to go with it too. And all of the bits worked incredibly well together, from music to acting to symbolism and imagery. I'll be talking a little bit more about that in detail later on and give more of a critical analysis of the film, as well as my own opinions on as much detail as I can give you to give you a huge overall review of this absolutely stellar film. You can catch it on Amazon Prime for next to nothing, just a few quid, as well as on Hulu, Google Play, iTunes and many other places, so do check it out. I really recommend it. The synopsis of the film is a young detective is torn apart after his wife is put into a coma and at the same time is dealing with a serial killer. It's quite a, it's not a very impressive synopsis. I mean, it's interesting, but it's nothing that really grips you from the get-go. However, the first 5 minutes of the film, the introduction of the film, it does it for you. They don't need to write copy because this film sells itself. The beginning of the film starts out with the main character Ryan being introduced, as well as the serial killer and what's been going on. There have been a few elderly people having suspicious heart attacks, and later on in the film, spoiler alert from now on, I'm afraid folks, later on it is revealed that they are being killed off through a overdose of insulin as a form of mercy killing, which is really fascinating, and I'll develop that theme later because that's what really sold this film to me, was this whole exploration of mortality and euthanasia, and as well the focus on the elderly, which is rarely done actually, so I thought that was a unique take and it worked very well. So what happens is a few things happen here and there between the killings and the heart attacks as they start to investigate further, and you are introduced to this sort of drunk character. You don't think much of him straight away. However, it is revealed later that he is the drunk driver who hits Ryan, the lead's girlfriend, and puts her into a coma. The introduction, as I said, is very gripping. It's also very clever. It's their anniversary. This is kind of the starting point. It's their anniversary, but he's working on this case, gets home late and she's not there because she's gone out to get some popcorn because he's not home yet and she's just keeping herself busy, sort of thing. On his way home he buys a anniversary card at the last minute, of course, at a service station, and a van goes past that's a little bit too fast, and there's a slight pause, a slight beat in the narrative there. You feel you're drawn to this car, this van, and you're set focus on it, but you don't think much of it. However, later on it's revealed through very clever visual aids that this van will, and the man who was drunk hit his girlfriend, and he was the cause of it all. I really like the use of showing and not telling. As a writer, show don't tell is one of the biggest rules, and this film does it exceedingly well. So rather than going, let's say there's a narrative or a dialogue between Ryan, the lead, and a doctor saying your wife was hit by a drunk driver, X, Y and Z, and now she's probably not going to wake up. Instead, it pans over, very subtly, over a newspaper saying drunk driver hits woman, puts her in coma, something like that. And I thought that was really clever, and it doesn't waste any time, no dialogue, and it's very organic. It's a very natural narrative, and tiny little things that seem irrelevant draw in together very well in this film, and that's where I find the writing is probably my favourite thing about this. Although, as I said before, the shots are gorgeous. There's some incredible landscape and drone shots that are really breathtaking and add a sense of epicness to this film. But it is the writing and the narrative that really gets to me, because as I said, you have all these little subtleties, all these little visual aids that come together into one nice cohesive ball at the end. So, progressing on after the introduction, which just had me at the get-go, you don't see it coming, the music works very well with it, and it's just in your face, she's in a coma, bam, and you're like, whoa, okay, I'm in it for the long ride now. It gets you. It's not scared to give you what it's got, and I really like that about this film. So the rest of the film, they follow the serial killer, and it turns out that, as I said, the elderly people are having an overdose of insulin, and because they're so old they can't cope with it and therefore die. It is later sort of revealed, I say it like that because it's a red herring, that the drunk driver at the beginning is doing the murders. However, it is revealed that he's not, and he is kind of one of the victims, because it turns out it's all of a form, some sort of convoluted way of euthanasia done by the therapist at the retirement home, nursing home of all of these victims. And I really liked that. I thought that was a really clever twist. I was watching the whole film thinking that it's going to be an inside job. It's too obvious, it's too cliche. And although it was the case to a degree, because it does turn out that Ryan's boss is in on it, of course, I found that a little bit cliche, but that was kind of made up for it with the introduction of the therapist and how her backstory fitted in with this whole idea of mercy killings and euthanasia. It is revealed that all of these victims have given their consent to be killed in this sort of very peaceful way, to a degree. And it is also revealed that the woman who is committing these killings, the therapist, she saw a loved one, her husband, fade away from dementia, and all of these victims have dementia as well. And it's the whole idea of watching someone you love fade away, and as well from a dementia patient's point of view of watching your identity slip away, losing control of your life, and wanting to take back any control that you have, in a way to kind of retain some of your humanity and some of your identity before you become this sort of a shell of who you used to be. And I thought that was a very powerful, very relevant theme to discuss, and probably a little bit controversial, but like I say, this film doesn't hold anything back. And you end up empathising with this woman and questioning whether it is manslaughter, murder, or whether it is mercy. And this film does well to explore the grey area between them all, and highlighting that life and death is not so black and white. And really, what do you do in this situation when you are watching a loved one die of dementia and fall apart, like in front of your very eyes? So yeah, like that worked really well. And as I said, all of these little things slotted in together to create a very organic narrative. Everything that happened made sense, all of the killings, all of the actions, how the characters interacted, how they treated one another, how they progressed with the narrative worked very, very well, and it was very believable. And that is very, very key for filmmaking, I think, because if it's not believable, the audience disengages and switches off, and that is the least thing you want to do. You want to grip the audience, you want to shock them, and you want to make them question something, and that is exactly what this film does, and I love it for it. I would say, however, there is one plot hole that I found that I kind of rubbed me up the wrong way. So it's this whole idea of mercy killing, and the reason that they're using an insulin overdose is because it's a calm and peaceful death. However, at one point, they use a gun and they shoot a guy in the chest who has consented to being killed, and that gunshot is what causes the detective who is visiting the woman who lives in the property at the time to kind of go towards it and to notice it, and leads him on the trail of finally confronting the therapist and realising it's her. And that didn't really make any sense, this whole idea of having a gun for a mercy killing when before you've always used insulin because it's peaceful. I was kind of hoping it was going to end up being a red herring, but it didn't. It was the people in charge, it was the therapist and the lead detective, or the higher up should I say. But it just didn't work for me, and I felt that there could have been other ways to do it for the detective to get onto the trail without having to use a gun and kind of mess with that sort of that structure that they had worked so hard to make cohesive. So that's probably my only niggle with the narrative, and it's a very small one. It's just me being pedantic. Another criticism of mine, which I feel really stupid about actually, was I didn't like the acting of the main lead. I thought Matt Hookins is his name, who plays Ryan. I felt he was a little bit sedated throughout the whole film. I felt when he should have reacted strongly or more because he's angry or sad, he didn't, and it just felt a little bit jarring from time to time. When he's yelling at someone for something, it doesn't seem as punchy, as powerful. However, he actually won Best Actor award for this film at the Hollywood Film Festival, so that fault of mine, is probably my own problem for not realising good acting when I see it. But for me, and me personally, as someone who seems to be completely clueless, I felt there was something missing. He was good, yes, but it didn't quite cut it. It didn't have the sort of aggressive or manicness that I wanted from someone who was depressed, from someone who is dealing with so much on his plate, from his wife being in a coma to dealing with serial killers. So it didn't quite cut it for me, but those are probably the only faults I have, because like I say, it's a brilliant narrative, it's written really well, and it's shot really well. The directing is awesome too, and from every point and every level, there is a positive to this film. From a macro perspective, from a wider perspective, it is an enjoyable film, it is great, it is well made. But even if you take it down to the teeny tiny details such as imagery and symbolism and set design, that is also really outstanding. There's a really nice shot that I remember of this film where Ryan walks into the hospital room where his wife is laying in a coma, and the sunflowers on the windowsill that have been shown before are drooping, and one of them is dead. And I thought that was really beautiful. I thought that worked really well to symbolise this sort of idea of her falling apart, of her dissipating, her dripping away from him, and he needs to let her go. And I loved that. I thought that was really clever. And I liked as well how the anniversary present, the sort of Chekhov's gun in a way, of the film, ended up being a watch. And this might just be my over-interpretation, but I considering the rest of the film, I think the creators did this intentionally. And the use of the watch to represent time, and to represent time running out, or how much time do we have on our hands, and how much of time are we in control of. Throughout the film, a lot of the dementia patients slip away from time, they disconnect from it, they don't understand it, and time becomes this massive thing that's tied up with identity. When we know what time it is, when we know what day of the week it is, we know what our schedule is, we know what we're doing, we know who we are. And that worked really well as a very subtle roundup for this film. This just end that is, just think about it. This has happened, it's hit you, think about it. And I love films that are like that, that you don't come out of it going, oh, that was brilliant, that was great, or oh, that was awful. You come out of it going, oh, okay, I'm gonna think about that. That's gonna linger with me for a while. And although I was like, yes, this film is brilliant, I was thinking, and I'm still thinking, and I'm taking it in. And when a film does that, it connects with you on such a raw, deep basis. That is when you've done your art very well to outstanding degree. So yes, please go watch this film. It is a brilliant film. And comment below your opinions and what you like about it, and whether you disagree or agree with my poor acting comments. But overall, this is an absolutely brilliant film. There's some great names behind it. There's a Grammy Award winner producer. There's brilliant shots. I just don't know what else I can say other than please watch it. You will not regret it. And enjoy, because it is there for you to enjoy, to question, and just have fun. And this, as an art form, does everything I want it to. And that is not only impressive, outstanding, but also it makes me proud as a creative that other creatives are doing something to this level. So please go check it out and have a great day. Thank you very much and take care.